I'm going to be making some fudge. It's a pretty easy recipe, it only takes about 15 minutes. Good thing about this fudge is you don't need to boil it, so you don't need a candy thermometer. And it's basically a cold recipe because you don't have to bake it either. Right, well, first thing you need are some ingredients. Okay, firstly, a pound of icing sugar that I've sifted. Chocolate, you can have white chocolate or milk or dark, whichever you prefer, any make. Baking chocolate is okay, but if you want a really nice one, go for your normal eating chocolate like Belgian or the Lindt stuff, which is really nice. We want 2 eggs, which I've beaten, and I've also added 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You can use vanilla essence, it's up to you really. The only other thing we really need for this is a filling like nuts or anything you like. I'm using sultanas today because I actually forgot to buy some nuts, silly me. You're going to need to pour it out into a pan which I've lined here with some foil, greased it with some butter. It's a 7 by 10 inch pan and it'll probably fill that up most of the way. Okay, you also need half a slab of butter, that's 125 grams of butter, which we're going to melt with the chocolate for the first part of this process. Okay, so we've got our chocolate. It's basically 350 grams. Just break it up in little bits, doesn't have to be all the way. And just chuck that in with the butter. Now you can do the old melting it in a bowl on top of a bowl of boiling water, but as long as you keep the temperature low, it doesn't really make much of a difference. As long as you keep attending to it, it won't burn. Right, that's started to melt really nicely now. I've got my ring on 4, which is basically it's just above medium. It's just so it melts it, but it doesn't cook it before it should. Right, that's pretty much nearly done. I've got a nice consistency there. Okay, first thing I'm doing now is I'm turning my heat down to 2 from 4. Basically what will happen is if you enter the eggs when it's too hot, they will start to poach inside the mixture and you get this horrible white stuff in there. Okie dokie. Right, so this is the eggs with the vanilla extract added. In it goes. Right, at one stage this will start to look really awful like that. But just keep stirring, eventually it will level out and you'll get a nice thick consistency again. The trick with this stuff basically is just keep stirring it. Okay, I've added my my ingredients, which in this case were sultanas, but like I said, you can add nuts or anything that takes your fancy. Mix that in for a while. Now I've taken it off the heat, and I'm adding the powdered sugar, 1 cupful at a time. If you try to do too much, basically you'll just make a mess of your kitchen. So 1 cup at a time. Just slowly fold it in. This takes a while, it's quite laborious, but it will get a lot thicker and it won't quite look like the disaster that it does now. Okay, all my icing sugar is in and this one has actually turned out quite thick. It really does depend on what chocolate you use. When I used the Lindt stuff last time, this was quite runny and I thought it wouldn't set. Anyway, I shouldn't really have a problem with this. So all we have to do now is pour, or in this case shovel, into the waiting pan. Right, there we go, that's the finished slab of fudge. Now the thing with this stuff is it holds its heat incredibly well, so you're going to need to leave this for about 2 or 3 hours while it cools down before you can put it in the fridge. If you put it in the fridge like now, it's going to break your fridge basically. So I'm just going to cover this over, stop anything landing on it, and we'll leave that for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours while it cools down. Okay, well it's been about 2 hours now since I put it in the air pan, so it's cooled down enough. Just check the bottom of the pan. If it's less than warm, and bung it in the fridge for about 3 hours. Wind the bit. Okay, about 3 hours, that'll be nice and solid. All you have to do after that is tip it out onto a plate or a chopping board, cut it out with a large knife, put it on a plate and eat. I will warn you, it is about 500 calories per gram due to the amount of sugar in there, so if you want to diet or you've got sensitive teeth, probably best to avoid. Okay, cheers.